occasionally you get those cases that are just so bonkers. You think, right, this can't be real. This must be the simulation playing with us, giving us examples of things that are just so ridiculous. And yet I am assured by the hyper reality of the internet that this is absolutely real and this is really happening. So, as you can see from the Daily Mail here, Taliban commander's nephew granted asylum in UK and can be joined by 7 family members, even though none of them can speak English. Like, right. I actually don't think we should be taking any relations of the Taliban, no matter what has happened. And I appreciate that foreign parts can be a bit rough, but that's not really our problem, is it? With the end of the empire went the end of our responsibility to weird foreign parts to deal with their problems and make them live like civilized human beings. At this point, that's just not our business, is it not? Anyway, so that's the headline. The relatives, the man's parents, 3 sisters, a niece and nephew, have no options and are unable to return to Afghanistan. Well, he's a Taliban commander. Like his uncle is now in charge of Afghanistan. Well, partly. So why is this our problem? But no, apparently, the family of the ruling elite of Afghanistan can come and live with us for some reason. In the latest controversial ruling by Britain's asylum courts. I mean, controversial is a very kind way of putting it. Mad asylum courts. Again, he's members of the Taliban. Like you aren't the Taliban and Afghanistan and just frankly the tribal cultures of Asia are not like us, right? They actually don't see people as being independent of their families like we do. So this guy in his culture will be understood to have a social place in a hierarchy that is because of his uncle being a Taliban commander, right? He will have a certain kind of life because of that. And it's not that, you can't just, they don't run a meritocracy there, right? They don't hire people irrespective of their background if they're good at the job. That's just not like us. But anyway, the nephew, referred only to as S in the ruling, arrived in Britain in 2016. He was claimed to be 15, but of course he was age assessed to be 18. So great. He lied to get in, but his uncle was a Taliban commander who'd been pressuring his father to allow S to join the jihad. So pressuring the father, not pressuring S. That's interesting, isn't it? Like, had he been himself asking to join the jihad and his dad was like, no? But anyway, S was sent to Kabul by his father to get away from his uncle. Well, it kind of sounds like S wants to be part of the jihad, doesn't it? But S was stabbed by 2 cousins because of a family dispute and he eventually fled Afghanistan. Right, okay. Great. I mean, who knows the nature of the family dispute, right? In 2018, an immigration judge allowed him indefinite leave to remain in the UK after a psychotherapist said he had post-traumatic stress. Great, okay. While S's parents and sisters all fled through around Turkey, where they were being feared, being arrested and sent back to Afghanistan. In 2023, his relatives applied to enter the UK, citing the right to private and family life under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, but were refused, which is fucking remarkable, given how flexible Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights is. However, Upper Tribunal Judge Gaynor Bruce has now decided actually it was unjustifiably harsh, and every foreigner in the world who doesn't actually like living where they live should be able to live in Britain. Again, why isn't it that we just go and take over these places? If we're not happy with it, we could restart imperialism. If you think them living by their own standards is unjustifiably harsh, we could go and take them over. But we don't. We instead import them into our country. The lawyer for the family argued that the sisters were all being threatened with forced marriage if they'd stayed in Afghanistan. Well, okay, I'm sorry to hear it, but that's not our problem. S's father faced retribution from his brother. Okay, well, that's terrible, but not our fucking problem, mate. Right? Every day, all around the world, there are millions and millions of injustices that happen by our standards because the rest of the world are mental and not like us. And we know this because we used to rule them. And we used to have to impose law and order on them in a way that we would find appropriate. And they were all like, oh no, that's the most awful thing in the world that's ever happened to us. We want you to leave. And we said, okay, fine, we'll leave. And now, look at what we have to do. Oh, Mom, my brother's going to kill you. I don't care. Not my problem. What are you doing here? Go away. And the thing is, if you're wondering the kind of people that we're dealing with here, one sister had married an Afghan man in Turkey, father to her 2 children. They split up after he beat her with an iron bar. Oh, brilliant. Just Again, terrible, but how is this our problem? How is it our fault? Why are we on the hook for this? She said another sister had been working illegally in Turkey, washing dishes to support their housebound parents, both of whom are diabetic, with the father suffering from undiagnosed seizures. An expert claimed S was constantly re-triggered by his worry for his family, although he'd been able to visit Turkey twice to see them. So, he wanted to train as an electrician, but was unable to do so due to his mental stress. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, look, man, we can't just take in the entire world and deal with them. This is like these are not entirely unusual events for people who live in Afghanistan, right? And the Muslim world, the wider, like the non-Western world generally. These are not remarkable events. There are going to be a million different stories like this, and some bleeding heart left-wing judge, a woman, is going to be like, yep, well, they all have to stay. Article 8, Human Rights Convention. Blah, 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 blah. Everyone gets to live as a modern Western liberal in an English-speaking country, or they all come here because otherwise their human rights are being violated. It's like, look, man, this is mental. She accepted that allowing the family members to settle in the UK would place a significant burden upon the public purse. Thanks, Judge. Thanks. I love the fact that we're just going to be the rescue home for foreigners who can't live peaceably with one another, which is literally what's happening. S is presently unable to work and is reliant on public funds. Oh, brilliant. That's just great. It's not only likely, but inevitable, that the position of his family members will either be the same. Great. That's just amazing. But she concluded that this was outweighed by S's desire to be reunited with his relatives. Why does his desire for anything affect my taxes? I'm laughing because I'm fucking furious. Like, if I don't laugh, I'll cry, right? I don't care what his desires are. I just don't care. I have absolutely no sympathy whatsoever. I'm sorry that, like, they're awful in foreign parts, but they always have been and they always will be. They have a different culture to us that values different things, and that shouldn't be something that allows him to take money from me. And you, and everyone else, all my neighbours, everyone in the country. We shouldn't have to pay for this. And the judge's like, yeah, this is going to cost us a fortune. But, his desire to be reunited with his relatives in a precarious situation outweighs the concerns of you being impoverished to pay for a man who has absolutely no claim to your money whatsoever. Absolutely none. Like, what? Can we put him to work? Can we, like... If it's like, right, okay, you can come to Britain and we will pay for your accommodation, but you have to now do labour, right? You have to build something. You have to clean something. You have to do something, right? Why, like, free money? This should be essentially indentured servitude, right? Yeah, okay, you can come and be dependent on the British people, but you're going to be clean. You're going to be a bin man. You're going to do some unpleasant job that you didn't, we don't want to do, but someone has to do. And if you want free money and safety from us, you have to do something in return. We are not just a charity, for Christ's sake. It's mad how we're just a charity for the entire world. And the judge is like, well, the law says so. So who's this judge? It's Gaynor Bruce here, right? As you can see, all she's ever done is practice in immigration, asylum, and human rights law. Oh, brilliant. She's a first-tier tribunal judge, a deputy upper tribunal judge, now an upper tribunal judge. Oh, that's great. And what's her education? The University of Exeter. She got a bachelor's in Islamic Studies and Middle Eastern Politics. And then she's got a Master of Laws, Islamic Law and Comparative Human Rights. So she is an Islamophile. And she's now deciding for us to give our money to people who I personally don't really want to give it to and don't think they should be here because, bringing in members of the Taliban might not be that smart. But then there was a Taliban commander who was literally just living in London at the taxpayer expense for years, wasn't there? So it's not like this is unprecedented or something, but we are literally mad. I remember, like, Afghan asylum seekers often just take holidays back to Afghanistan. It's like, what are you talking about? The Home Office is investigating the migrants' alleged holiday exploits, which we revealed on social media posts. And they said that his refugee status in Britain was being reviewed, and if the holiday was proven, he could be hauled in to explain the trip. I can explain it. He's taking us for mugs. He's just taking the piss. He knows you will give him free money and a free house. And that means that with that money and that house, he can just go on holiday. He's actually in a position from the UK taxpayer to fucking go on holiday, and he took a holiday back to Afghanistan because he knows you're a mug. That's why he knows we are mugs. And so he's just like, yeah, I just want to go back and visit my friends and family, because why would I not want to? And he literally broke in on a dinghy in 2022. Just, it's so straightforward. It is just so straightforward what these people are doing. And yet here we are being taken for absolute mugs. We must be literally mad. And here we are. And remember, the rate of violent convictions per 10,000, as Migration Centre for Migration Control tell us, is not uniform. Right? People are different in different places. So in the UK, it's 15.9 per 10,000, which is not very high. I mean, it's quite high, I guess, but it's not very high. And when you look at people from Afghanistan, it's 101.54 per 10,000. So that is 6.39 times greater than the UK. I mean, at least they're not Congolese or Somalian, I suppose. They're slightly better than the Iraqis. But that's still really out of step with what the average person in Britain is like. And so, okay, great. Let's just keep bringing in Afghans, because they clearly get how to live in our society. And remember that our government just absolutely smuggled in, it was tens of thousands, actually, what was it? So far, 4,500, but they're going to bring their families as well. And if their families are, I don't know, 7 family members, like with this guy, was it 7 family members? Yeah, 7 family members with this guy. So, you know, we're looking at 220,000 or so that the UK government has and is in the middle of sneaking into the country. And this was because the British official had inadvertently leaked their data, because some retard in the fucking Home Office or wherever accidentally sent an email with all of this information attached. It's like, oh, great. So now we have to take 200,000 Afghans. Just mad. Absolutely mad. And this will have consequences for the people in the country. I can't highlight that for some reason. And other countries are like, you know what, we actually don't want this many Afghans in our countries, because it turns out they aren't quite the same as the average Westerner. The Germans just want to just get them all back. And the Taliban have agreed as well. The Taliban, we'll have an extradition treaty with you. We'll take them back. We'll just take people back. It's fine. We'll take them back. And so the Germans just start, just randomly deporting. Here's one who got deported back to Lithuania, where she already had asylum and the right to work. She couldn't find a job as a teacher for a primary school. And so she was like, oh, I'll just go to Germany then. I'll claim asylum there and get a kindergarten teacher work there. And the Germans were like, no, you won't. Fuck off. And just deported her. And then here we are, just taking in close relatives of Taliban commanders and importing their families over because they have a sob story. It's like, well, I'm sorry, everyone's got a goddamn sob story. Why should I have to pay for it? It's my money. What am I getting in return? Absolutely nothing, except an increased risk of crime. I'm laughing because it's so ridiculous that you couldn't write a fiction in which this happened, because people are like, look, this is just breaking my suspension of disbelief. I don't believe any country would be so goddamn stupid. Not even Germany would be so stupid and liberal and bleeding heart as to do this. And yet, here we are. Again, we must be literally mad.